Welcome to E-Pathshala. I am Dr. Vishal Jadhav, Associate Professor, Department of Sociology, Tilak Maharashtra Vidya-mitra, Pune. Today we are going to look at a module which compares Marx, Weber and Durkheim. So the title of the module is Comparing Marx, Weber and Durkheim, and this particular module comes under the paper called Classical Sociological Theory. Marx, Weber and Durkheim, who are also popularly called as the founding fathers of sociology, had three contrasting styles and perspectives to understand human society. Marx, who used a historical, materialist and a dialectic approach, looked at how political economy shaped human history. Weber focused more in terms of religion as a shaping factor of capitalism. And Durkheim, who was a structural functionalist, looked at how different institutions, including religion, brought together a cohesion of society. Whereas Marx and Durkheim were looking at how structures impose themselves on individuals. Weber, on the other hand, sought to explain how human agency and interpretativist sociology could help us understand human actions in a much better fashion. Karl Marx, Max Weber and Emil Durkheim contributed to build the base of sociological knowledge, which is popularly known as classical sociological theory. The involvement with social changes and transformation from mid-19th to early 20th century grasped the core issues of human existence and development. In the time span of emerging modern social theory, the influential and leading contribution came from these three thinkers. This is not the only point why a comparative discussion among Max Weber, Karl Marx and Emil Durkheim is needed, but also the common ground they have chosen to develop their theories needs to be acknowledged. They discussed about human history, society, politics, economics and culture in interconnected manners. They show and reveal the connection of individual and society, which becomes the interior of practicing sociology. Hence, reading about the founding fathers of sociology, Marx, Weber and Durkheim is necessary to acquiring knowledge about social theories and applying them in social problems. This module will help us to know about the commonalities of these three thinkers and their works, how they have seen the social system and human culture, how their ideas become contradictory as well as complementary to each other in some point. Why are the basic points to contrast the theoretical schemes they have given? What are the shortcomings for each of them to define and describe human society? Marxist theory based on social critique and conflict, wherein Durkheim emphasized on social factors. Weber believes social relation shaped by politics, economics and culture and individual act has subjective meaning. To talk about human life, act, behavior and formulation of human society, of all of them have taken a strongly defined position. In Marx's view, the first historical act is the production of material life itself. This is indeed a historical act, a fundamental condition of all history. Taking this understanding in foci, he develops the idea of historical materialism. He goes on talking about basic human needs and the dissatisfaction that leads to new trends. The production of new needs is the first historical act for him. Adhering to Marx, Durkheim is also stating that human desires are unlimited and the more one has, the more one wants, since satisfactions received only stimulate instead of filling needs. However, he is offering the idea of social control in this matter, where society imposes limits on human desire and constitutes a regulative force. Weber's definition of sociology reflects his perspective on human action and behavior. According to him, social facts are in the last resort intelligible facts, and we can perceive human action by penetrating to the subjective meanings of behaviors. Hence, he defines sociology as the science which aims at the interpretative understanding or Verstehen of social behavior in order to understand or gain an explanation of its cause, its course, its effects. Contrasting and comparing these three thinkers, ideas and theories will foster the possibilities to debate on social systems, stratifications, division of labor, religion, and social change. Therefore, this module is designed by dividing it into two parts. The first part, we will know the basic works of Marx, Weber, and Durkheim and where they found their common interests. Then we will elaborate the discussion on some specific thematic points bearing the conceptual ideas. That will be in the following module. Basic thoughts and interrelations. As a major figure in the history of economic and philosophical thought, Marx took the side of tension and struggle for social change in describing how society moved forward. To elaborate the idea, he emphasized on class struggle, division of labor, and production system. He also clarified this class struggle had marked all history, and these struggles differed according to the historical stage. He pronounced ideas and categories are no more eternal than the relations which they express. They are historical and transitory products. Marx was convinced by a holistic approach that considered society as a structurally interrelated whole. He counts and identifies all aspects of human life, for instance, education, culture, religion, legal codes, art, and so forth, reliantly connected in with this structured whole means could not be understood by themselves. Hence, he is suggesting the major independent variable, which is mode of economic production, and to learn about the historical phenomena, you have to look at the economic factors. The political, legal, philosophical, literary, and artistic development rests on the economic, but they all react upon one another and upon the economic base. It is not the case that the economic situation is the sole active cause and everything else is merely a passive effect. There is rather a reciprocity within a field of economic necessity, which in the last instance always asserts itself. Another German-born sociologist and philosopher, Max Weber, used to introduce himself as a political economist. He opposed Marx on the idea of historical materialism and defined social system in a new way by combining the factors of economy and religion. In this way of viewing society, Weber identifies the processes of rationalization, secularization, and disenchantment. These three processes are associated with the rise of capitalism and modernity. This is a great shift of focus to analyze capitalism from the Marxist point of view. This line of thought, demonstrated by Weber in the Protestant Ethics and the Spirit of Capitalism, where he defines the rationalization as a process of replacing the current values, traditions, and emotions of a society that motivate their current behaviors with thoughts and actions which appear to be more rational, and a move towards rational legal authority which is inevitable. Secularization broadly refers as a process through which rationalization and modernization, where religion loses its supreme authority. Disenchantment for Weber is forward move towards cultural rationalization and scientific progress by opposing the traditional system. It is a disenchantment because it opposes to live in the traditional world, where the world remains in a great enchanted garden. On the other hand, for Durkheim, it is connected with industrialization and the new social division of labor. For this French philosopher and sociologist, sociology is the science to discover structural social facts. Hence, unlike Marx and Weber, he was interested to see how Western societies in modern era maintain their coherence and integrity. Then he found that in the modern age, traditional social and religious ties are no longer assumed. Rather, new social institutions come into being. Opposing with Weber's interest on individual action, he suggests the phenomena regarding society at large as the site of investigation in sociology. In the book, The Division of Labor in Society, Durkheim regards conflict, chaos, disorder, crisis as pathological phenomena to modern society, unlike Marx, who identifies class conflict. To outline the development of society from primitive to industrial capitalist, he acquires the terminology solidarity and distinguished between mechanical and organic solidarity. In mechanical solidarity, the members of the society are much more alike in their devotion and contribution to common spirit. Here, ideas and tendencies common to all members of the society are greater in number and intensity than those which pertain personally to each other. The solidarity can grow only in inverse ratio to personality. On the other hand, organic solidarity emerges out of differences rather than likenesses, where society functions with these increasing differentiations between its members. But it clarifies in modern era the organic solidarity resulting in a highly division of labor, but it still needs some common beliefs and faiths to tie, called common conscience or collective conscience. These similarities and differences in particular issues, contradictions and fairly new ideas in relation to each other, derived from Marx, Weber and Durkheim, develop the grand theories in sociology which are broadly used in all social sciences. One of the issues may be social stratification, regarding what they shed light on with different but in a holistic perspective. Class, status and social order. Conceptualizing of social class and class structure is Marx's classical contribution in defining and elaborating the human world and historical materialism or dialectical materialism. In his concept of class, he identifies the historical tendency in all societies to divide themselves into two social classes which are unequal. These classes are structured in a hierarchy. In this situation of manifold and subordinate gradation of social rank, classes are always engaged in a historical struggle or class struggle. Disagreeing with Marx's viewpoint on class and class struggle, Weber identifies the development of status group in modern societies. Actually, he argues that three major adjustments have taken place in modern age: class, status and party. Weber defines social class in relation with social action and emphasizes on class situation in a different way. We may speak of a class when a member of people have in common a specific causal component of their life changes, insofar as 2. This component is represented exclusively by economic interests in the possession of goods and opportunities for income, and 3. which is represented under the conditions of commodity and labor markets. This is class situation according to Weber. For this assertion from Weber, we can see the formation of social class is dependent on modern market situation, social actions and different types of class antagonism and struggle. Weber is proposing different types of class antagonisms in comparison to Marx's class struggle. According to Marx, depending on common set of interests, the mass people transformed into class and they initiate a political struggle by opposing the interests of the dominant class. Here, Marx also points out the absolute ownership of the means of production, which is also a determinant of class situation. Weber brings a different argument in this matter and outlines two categories of the class situation. First, category underlines the ownership of property by one class that leads a monopolization of the means of production and determines the class situation. In this situation, life chances exist only for the propertied class, and they are only confronted by each other. Second category highlights the class category that determined by different skills, abilities and education. These capabilities, credentials are capable to be sold in market and create life chances. Here in modern market situation, individuals can have a life chance without owning property. From this point of view, he also found Marx's theory of class struggle ambiguous and suggested different types of social action and struggle. For him, there are no class interests in modern age, only average interests of individuals in similar economic class situations. The action by class against the class structure can happen only in two ways: irrational protest and rational associations. Contrasting Marx's use of the term class, Weber frequently uses groups and focused on a great shift of class struggle between antagonistic groups because progressive use of legal order has been used to resolve disputes. Moving towards following the resolution of extreme class struggle, he suggests about the formation of status group. Weber's status group compete for prestige and social reputation, unlike Marx's class struggle for power and property or wealth. He defines the status group as a choice and lifestyle of individual which has nothing to do with market situation and economic behavior like class. Social honor is the basic principle for status group, whereas it has distinct activity criteria. In conjunction with class and status group, Weber also considered political party that restricted the realm of power and political order. When we see a contradiction regarding class situation and social stratification between Marx and Weber, another founding father of sociology, Emile Durkheim, does not see social classes as the main determinant of individual consciousness. Rather, he suggests social solidarity and describes the modern society based on new mutual dependencies that create a complex division of labor. Division of labor and the trio. The classical sociology of Marx, Durkheim and Weber see the development of industrialization and specialization in different ways and present different kinds of prospects. However, the blueprints for the future society are not present in the work of any of these theories, but the analysis presents an effective framework for studying modern society. The concept of division of labor is present in most of the work of Marx, like Economic and Philosophical Manuscript, the German Ideology, Capital, etc. Durkheim dedicated his first and major theoretical work in this domain with the same name and explores a curious paradox by asking, how does it come about that individuals, whilst becoming more autonomous, depends ever more closely on society? Both Marx and Durkheim say that the modern division of labor was possible because of decimation of old social order. Durkheim says that the division of labor varies in direct proportion to the volume and densities of societies, and if it progresses in a continuous manner over the course of social development, it is because societies become regularly more dense and generally more voluminous. Further, he says that growth and development of societies necessitate a greater division of labor. So, it is not the instrument whereby that division is brought about, but it is determining cause. The determining cause for the increase in the moral and social density is not demography, rather it is due to increase in interactions amongst the social groups on permanent basis. So, he agrees with Marx that the locus of specialization in cities where people from different strata come and converge to go for differentiation of work. Marx gives the example of North America and says that northern states of American Union is more denser than India due to development of division of labor despite India having higher population. In the work of Max Weber, the division of labor in society came from the inescapable term called rationalization. This process of rationalization changed the face of different domains and created specific kind of knowledge to satisfy the need of society. In his work, The Protestant Ethic and Spirit of Capitalism, he talks about the rationalization of Protestants through the doctrines of Calvinism, which changed the rational means of gaining economic prosperity to deal with salvation and anxiety. The Protestants generally took technical education, which helped them to become specialized in their field. They also followed the spirit of rationality in their work to cultivate spirit of capitalism in them. So, the division of labor through specific processes of rationalization created a differentiation in the society, which gave them the feeling of disenchantment. So, Weberian notion of division of labor is different from the work of Durkheim and Marx. However, Marx and Weber both find the process of rationalization as alienating to the workers. Max Weber, in his theory of bureaucracy, talks about the specific role attached to specific posts through the specification of jurisdictional area, and these areas cannot be changed by the whim of the superiors. He says that increasing rationalization of society leads to development of strict division of labor. This kind of division of labor is manifested through the bureaucratic organizations of society. His concept of bureaucracy is based on hierarchy of authority, impersonality, written rules, achievement based growth, specialized division of labor, efficiency, etc. The increasing rationalization of social world is building greater control of human over nature. Rationalization, which is the most important element of Weber's theory, is identified with division of labor. Bureaucracy and mechanization. He, in the work Science as Vocation, talks about the notion of progress and says how it is giving rise to disenchantment. Durkheim's work mainly rely on individual consciousnesses and collective consciousness. And these two things determine the intensity of division of labor in society. Marx sees individual consciousness being shaped by social strata to which an individual is belonging, but Durkheim finds social stratification as the pathological character of society in a phase of transition to modernity which he calls anomie. He views it not as an instrument of exploitation, rather a determinant of social solidarity. Durkheim provides functional analysis of society, and he tries to find out functionality of normal and pathological characters of society. He finds pathological reinforces morality in society, and for him, presence of pathology is not a problem, as society's collective consciousnesses through several mechanisms will reinforce normal conditions as and when any deviant is being punished. Therefore, somehow he is trying to counter the pessimistic view of modern society which is provided by Marx. In addition to the mechanical and organic solidarity, Durkheim uses covariance analysis in the work of division of labor to find the true cause and effect relation, and also to reject those causes which are not related with effects. In the chapter The Anomic Division of Labor, he finds two abnormal types of division of labor. He tries to find out the partial breaking of organic solidarity in case of commercial crisis and bankruptcies, and says that with increasing specialization of division of labor, the labor got organized and conflicts between employer and worker increased. Marx finds the specialization of division of labor alienating and calls for revolution, which will bring organized division of labor. The other abnormal form of division of labor is anomic division of labor. If the division of labor does not produce solidarity, then it is because the interrelationship of organs are not regulated, and then it is in the state of anomie. Durkheim finds that the structure of individual consciousness is shaped by roles, norms, and morality. These things produce healthy personality of an individual in the society. Both Marx and Durkheim see the consequences of division of labor differently. Well, Durkheim says that division of labor brings society in equilibrium. Marx finds human history and the history of class struggles Contradictions, changes and conflicts are the main words in Marx's writing. He finds capitalism as the struggle between capitalists and proletarians. So only the revolution of proletarians has the potential to change society. As a whole, Marx, Weber and Durkheim give different kinds of analysis of division of labor. Their thoughts sometimes converge and at other times diverge from each other's theory. However, all three thinkers find specialization of division of labor problematic for modern society, but everyone has to take on this. Marx says that only revolution can change the pathological character of society, while Durkheim says that when the transformation of society from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity occurs, then these economic conditions will disappear from society. However, Weber does not see any light in the end of the tunnel, as he finds that there is no way out of this iron cage of bureaucracy and rule-based rational control. Weber also criticizes the Marxian concept of alienation by stating that there is no emancipation from this, and the overarching process of rationalization produces a split between public domain and consists of the state and capital and individuals separated from means of production. Capital, economy and politics. To develop their arguments, three of these thinkers made a strong connection between politics and economy very proficiently. They identify the capital in modern age, criticize the political economy and articulate the formation and complexities of political system. However, a general and popular sense, people consider Marx and Weber in this regard as major contributors because of the authorship of book like Capital, a critique of the political economy, economy and society, or the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. But Durkheim also illustrates the economic facts while elaborating his theory on religion as foundation of society. He disagreed with the Marxian notion that economy could be at the root of society and argued that religion was the foundation from which economy grew. What Marx said regarding capital, his major theorization of capitalist political economy illustrated in the volumes of Capital. In contrast of traditional conception of market competition, entrepreneurship, supply and demand, he outlined the complexity of capitalism as a social formation and economic system of production. Then he went on to conceptualize means of production and ownership on that, forces of production and relation of production, surplus value, commodity and labor. In capitalist accumulation, the commodification of labor power and the institution of wage labor is the most important factor for him. Weber defined modern capitalism as a type of money economy and a type of economic organization. The unambiguous stamp on the economic organization of Western capitalism had placed by Protestant religions maxims that affecting economic behavior had become incentives for life and regulation and the control of material reality by aestheticism. This aestheticism he uses for articulating a form of self-denial which arises in everyday life to prohibit enjoyment and worldly pleasure. Weber gave an importance to rationalization of industry and trade that eventually led to the development of calculable law and ensured that the rational operations of economic life occurred. So this application of legal rules minimizes extreme discrimination between bourgeoisie and proletariats, eliminates the naked exploitation. Further, Weber extended the idea of capitalism by comparing the ways of money making with Western capitalism. According to him, Western capitalism has developed the philosophy or spirit which rejects the worldly luxury, concaving wealth and profit beyond the individual and personal need, and an avoidance of use of wealth for personal enjoyment. When Weber is connecting the economy with religion and explaining religious sparkle that assists modern rational capitalism, he also shed lights on the suspension of those religious forces. How the capitalist system runs and capitalism sustains further is a question. Durkheim was not convinced by Marx's political forecast and revolutionary change of capitalist system. However, he takes interest in exploring socialism and considers it as a social fact. In his definition of socialism, it is not necessary to surrender the economic life in the hands of the state, rather having a reciprocal interaction. From a functional point of view, he proposed the mutual understanding between economy and political society. Finally, from a materialist viewpoint of view, Marx begins his critical argument on political economy. Later, Durkheim and Weber show the interconnectedness of sociology of religion and sociology of economy. Their extended work also led to a new approach of linking economic sociology, religious sociology, and sociology of knowledge. However, we need to keep in mind there is a contradiction between evolutionary and revolutionary approach, moral and material viewpoints. State apparatuses, bureaucracy, law, power, and dominant belief systems are instruments of the ruling class to suppress. For Marx and for Weber and Durkheim, those are the key elements of functioning society. To conclude, we just saw how Marx, who looked at historical facts to understand present social locations, and Weber also, who looked at macro processes affecting social choices, and Durkheim, who looked at how social facts impose themselves on human beings. So there is a similarity of thought here. However, there are large differences which we saw in their perspectives. Some of the major differences that we looked at were: one, that Marx, who looked at human history through a dialectical approach, saw conflict as the source of change, whereas Durkheim, who was a structural functionalist, basically looked at how cohesion could be achieved through social functions.